friend Lavelle Neal III, also heard frequently and for many decades, multiple decades with Dan Barrero and Bumper to Bumper with Barrero. Lavelle Neal III, columnist Star Tribune, and at Lavelle Neal via Twitter. Our guy is an author. He has written a book called The Franchise, and it was very important to Lavelle over about the last year and a half or whatever. Like, I'd asked him to come on the radio show on a Monday or a Tuesday, and he'd be like, I want to, but I can't because I'm up at Grandview Lodge, or I'm up here up north, or I'm over here. All right, well, why are you doing that? Well, I need a peaceful place because I'm writing a book. I'm like, writing a book? Well, the book is out, and it's called Franchise, Minnesota Twins. Franchise, Minnesota Twins, and author Lavelle Neal III joins us now. Why did you decide to write a book, and good morning?
That's a heck of a question.
Good morning.
Good morning to you as well. Good seeing you. It's been like 6 weeks.
Nordo's a new daddy, Hannah Elizabeth.
I know. He's still in Valhalla after having his family expansion project work out. Mm-hmm. So congratulations, Nordo.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, man.
But I got contacted by Triumph Books. And Triumph Books does a lot of sports publications.
Oh, yeah.
And they have actually a nationwide series called The Franchise. And so they've done the Franchise New York Yankees book, a Franchise Red Sox book. They've even done the Franchise Alabama football book. So they reached out to me about doing the Twins book. And basically, it's supposed to be a coffee table book, which it kind of sort of is. But as I got into the years in which I knew more about the team and when I covered the team, I put some, personal observation stories in there and kind of livened it up a little bit, So
yeah,
it's a little bit more.
The cover is nice.
So I signed the contract in February. I started writing in March, and it pretty much dominated my summer. And you're correct. I went to cabins owned by two of my friends. I took out a hotel room for a week, just so I can hunker down. And I want to say thank you to the South St. Paul Library, because I probably wrote about 30% of the book on the second floor of the South St. Paul Library.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Old school.
Yeah, I did.
That's great.
So
did you become the library's curator?
No, I did not. I did not become a curator. I think after the first 4 days I showed up, they were like, oh, okay, he's back again.
Yeah.
They didn't know who I was and what I was doing. So
okay.
I got to make sure they get one of my books. Definitely. So it was a heck of an experience, and don't know if I do it again. It dominated my summer, man. I golfed once all last year, which was Randy Shaver's charity golf tournament for cancer care. But other than that, Fridays, spent weekends at the Minnesota Historical Society, which is really, really cool. Doing research, writing, checking out the vibe there. They've got, I would recommend just visiting that place just for the historical sake, just learning about this area's history and things like that. So I did it because I had never written a book before.
Yeah. And
I said, this may be my only chance. If I don't do this now, I may never have opportunity to write a book again.
Right. So
I did it. So it was a pain in the ass, but you know what? I got a book sitting on the shelf in the library.
Wow, I love how you frame that. The word history, from an historical standpoint, I have a question or two. Also, for those who want to know where to find it, we will reveal that around the corner. And there's a book signing with Wobble coming up this weekend. All that is next. And from the book is called The Franchise. The Franchise, a curated history of the Twins. The Franchise, the Minnesota Twins, written by Lavelle Neal III, at Lavelle Neal to learn more. Also, you can purchase it at all places online that you can purchase books.
Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com as well.
I'm looking at Amazon right now.
Yeah.
Get that Kindle for $15. Hardcover, $22.21.
That's with a Prime membership.
Okay. Well, that's pretty cool. That's who did the cover? The cover's badass.
Yeah, actually, I like the first cover they sent me was a close-up of Minnie and Paul shaking hands over the river. It was a close-up on the handshake, which I really liked. But
you just went with Paul.
Minnie and Paul. I said Minnie and Paul.
Okay. Well, maybe I'm looking at I said the first one they showed me I liked.
what they settled on, because they realized that the back cover did not have any love, so that's how they expanded. Minnie on one side, Paul on the other.
Okay, I love it. From a historical standpoint,
Yes, sir.
like you have followed and or covered, researched, gone deep diving on the Minnesota Twins for a quarter century.
Right.
That's nearly half our lives. But when spending time, historical society, chatting with old schoolers and new schoolers, the history of the Minnesota Twins, was there anything you learned along the way that was eye-opening?
Just the process of getting the team here. That's actually chapter 1. I didn't realize what they went through.
From the Senators?
Yes, but the movement for baseball here began like about 1952. Okay, so funny you bring this up because last week we lost the great Willie Mays.
Yeah.
Okay, so I went over to Tony Oliva's house and talked to him about Willie Mays and tried to find a picture with him and Willie, which we couldn't find. But Willie played for the Minneapolis Millers in 1951.
Yep.
He played 35 games.
Wow.
He had 477 in those 35 games. He had a 799 slugging percentage in those 35 games.
And aside, did Jackie Robinson play in the state?
I think he visited the state. I don't know if he...
Okay,
yeah.
so got it. Go ahead.
Ted Williams played through here too, I believe. I think Wazowski played here too.
For the yeah, go ahead.
So it was ridiculous. So Leo DeRocha's like, he wanted Mays in spring training, but he wasn't allowed to take him north. And he was like, I got to have him now. So he takes him. Minneapolis Millers fans are incensed. They're pissed. They're calling the New York Giants and cursing out people. So the owner of the team had to take out an ad in the paper to explain why it was time for Mays to be called up.
Wow.
He praised the fans for being passionate, but he said merit must be recognized.
Yeah. And we're talking 50s, right?
Right. So 1952, I'm going through old newspapers. 1952, all of a sudden, like, it's time for us to have a major league team. So I'm thinking Millers fans were ticked off because we don't want to be the city where people have to come here for a year or so and then leave and go to the majors. Mm-hmm. We want to be the team that prospects come to and play. We want a major league team.
Yeah.
So discussions about becoming a major league city started as early as then. And then it went into the whole, you think stadium wars are bad here? Trying to get funding for the stadium, for Metropolitan Stadium. There are twists and turns with that one as well. Where to have it. St. Paul was all for it because they thought it was going to be put at the Midway area, where Midway Stadium ended up being.
Yeah.
But then some guy in Bloomington showed up. The mayor in Bloomington said, "Hey, I got some farmland here. You can put a huge stadium with all kinds of parking."
Wow.
St. Paul was ticked off. St. Paul, Minneapolis, the rivalry goes back hundreds of years.
I can imagine.
I apologize if I get the year wrong. I believe it was the 1900 census. There was a race between Minneapolis and St. Paul to prove they had the most people in their city.
Yeah.
Okay. And there was a night where St. Paul authorities stormed a hotel in which Minneapolis numerators were cooking the books.
Wow.
Arrested them, put them on the trolley, and brought them to St. Paul for prosecution.
That's like dangling and hanging chads from Florida whenever.
It was ridiculous. So this rivalry's gone a long time.
Yeah.
So, the other thing too about the time when the Twins wanted
hold on, because I actually don't know the story. I know Met Stadium was where Mall of America is.
Correct.
All right, but how did it go down and the Vikings might have been involved here too because they shared a stadium. And the North Stars played there too in the Civic Center. So how did that happen? Like Mall of America popped up and all of a sudden now the Twins. Was it the Metrodome that the Metrodome was built or what? Yeah,
when they moved to the Metrodome, that's how that led to Bloomington to figure out what are we going to do with this space.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't the other way around. It wasn't you're out. We want to build on it.
Well, that's the other fascinating thing you touched on too. I did a chapter on all three ballparks. I did a chapter on Met Stadium.
Yeah.
I found Tim Laudner was a kid in the stands in the game against the Red Sox in which a bomb threat was phoned into the stadium.
Oh, wow.
And so they had people evacuate. A bunch of people were like, we're not leaving. Carter Yastrzemski's on the field. So they all went on the field, and they're mingling with Red Sox players and shaking his hands.
You're not some bomb threat. You're Fred Lynn.
But that was hilarious. Laudner was there for that day. It was during a time when there was a bunch of bomb threats going on around town.
Yeah.
And someone called in one and ended up being false.
So is that like mid-'70s? Like the Shah of Iran or like that
Maybe
time?
late 60s. Maybe late 60s. But
got it.
Bob Casey, like the announcer, of course, Bob Casey trumps the whole thing up. Ladies and gentlemen, we need you to peacefully leave the stadium because in about 20 minutes, there's going to be an explosion.
He did not.
Like, yes, he did.
You're kidding me.
Yes,
that's in the book?
Yes.
Hey!
So everybody's like, what? And half the people are like, no, I want to hang out with Yaz. If we're getting blown up, at least I can shake.
Yeah. Rico Petrocelli owes me $1,000. I'm going on the field.
So I did a chapter on Met Center. I'm sorry, on the Metropolitan Stadium. I did a chapter on the Metrodome. I did a chapter on Target Field.
Love that.
And now some cool stuff. Like Bill Smith told me, they had, first of all, they brought in Tim Cheetah, local umpire, to help design the umpires room.
Wow.
And they also purposely designated dressing quarters, expecting one day to have female umpires. So I thought that was pretty prescient on their on their end.
And they still have none.
Yeah, I know, but still, we're looking toward the future. So a lot of little cool stuff. You know, the flagpole at Target Field is from Metropolitan Stadium. The floor in the Town Ball Tavern, half the floor is the floor that the Minneapolis Lakers played on. They brought in the hoops floor and put it in the stadium.
George Mikan, though.
Yeah, little cool stuff like that. So, and I want to give away anything, but there's some everything, but there's some funny stuff in there too. Laudner killed Ken Herbeck. Ken Herbeck chapter is one of my favorite chapters. Just talking to Herbie, because Herbie was like, I can do it now. You know? Yeah. So stuff like that. So it was really, really entertaining. Had a great conversation with Jim Cott. I didn't know about this, but at the time, in the 60s, the Twins had a bunch of Cubans. So Cott used to go around saying the TC in our hat stands for 20 Cubans.
And was Juan Marichal Cuban? I don't know.
I believe he's Dominican.
Okay, because there were, maybe I'm thinking of Cesar Cedeno or something, but there were the Cuban influence. I mean, there
was Tony Oliva, there was Zoyo
Luis
Rosales,
Tiant, maybe.
Yep,
there were some badass players, man.
Julio Becerra was with the Twins as well. So
this is Lavelle Neal III, columnist, Star Tribune, long-standing member of the 9 to Noon Covenant and KFAN. He has a book called The Franchise Minnesota Twins, and we're discussing that. Learn more about it via his Twitter feed at Lavelle Neal or via Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com. A couple of places to buy it. And in our final segment, we will share with you where you can meet Lavelle and get a signed copy this weekend, Saturday, this weekend with Lavelle Neal III. We'll be right back.
Fan. I can't wait until tomorrow.
9 to noon.
Tomorrow.
Saturday, 1 o'clock, Barnes & Noble off Lake Street. Lavelle Neal III and his book, The Franchise Minnesota Twins. You can purchase copies, get them signed by Lavelle. I'm sure some picture opportunities will be available. And follow Lavelle's Twitter at Lavelle Neal. Also, yours truly will retweet it and comment on it if I see it.
In addition
Make
to
sure
Barnes,
you tweet it okay and let me know.
Right. In addition to local Barnes and Noble, there's books in a lot of like smaller bookstores across town. I actually the next chapter books off Snelling, just south of 94, called me and they got a shipment of books in, and I went and signed them all. So there's already autographed books available there. So there's other booksellers in town that also have that you can access to purchase this book.
So we have Kindle, we have hardcover, we have everything, right?
Yeah, paperback's not out yet. Right now, it's hardcover and Kindle and ebooks, I believe.
Got you. Barnes and Noble, Saturday off Lake Street.
I also want to say, since I have the moment here, July 13th, I'll be signing at the Barnes and Noble and at the Harmar Shopping Center.
All right.
And July 27th, I'll be signing at the Barnes and Noble in Edina. So there'll be options here. If you can't make it Saturday, there'll be some other stores. I think Egan's trying to get into the mix. I'm doing the Egan Barnes and Noble.
Oh, Egan, got you.
I'm doing a couple private signings. Well, not private signings, but I'm doing a couple signings on the side. July 18th at the Perfect Ash Cigar Lounge in Invergrove Heights, where I live. Also, Cuzzy's Bar and Grill off Washington Avenue, steps away from Target Field, has agreed to host a book signing before a Twins game.
That's by Bunkers.
Yeah, so that will be coming up. A date for that will be announced in the coming weeks.
You need to get like bands do.
Yeah.
Like get a shirt with like a tour on it.
Yeah.
And you got to put all your tour dates and locations on them so that, and maybe even sign those. I'm just thinking about merchandise opportunities because the book's good. The book looks awesome. I want the book. I'm going to get the book. But I want a T-shirt too, Lavelle.
Well,
Can you get T-shirts made?
I'll work on that. I have a guy who does T-shirts for me too at Edge Marketing. The other thing, I feel bad because I was going to bring books into you, but because they give me an allotment of books that I could sell on the side.
Okay.
And I'm running into
So you
people.
were going to charge us?
No, I was going to give them to you. I gave Bumper and Guardsy one.
Yeah.
So
cool.
because they were in office that
Why'd
day.
you only give them one? Why do they got to split it?
That's funny. But I'm running into people like, hey, how can I get your book? I said, I got some in the back of the car now.
Yeah.
So I'm doing like transactions out of the back of my car now.
I love that.
You know, so I got
does the IRS.
I got another shipment coming in later this week, probably Thursday. Oh, tomorrow or Friday.
Okay.
So
You know where to find me.
Yeah, you guys are on the list to get a book. Nordo can definitely read the book to his newborn baby, and that baby
absolutely, I
will
will.
tick off and go to sleep immediately. So, yeah, and folks, if you see me this summer, if you see me this summer, you need to buy a book, just holler at me. I may have one in the car.
7,000 words on Joe Mauer.
Yes.
Your thoughts?
That was interesting because I was determined to find out. I went back to all the Star Tribunes to find out the first time we had the name Joe Mauer in a newspaper. And it was his freshman year
Oh, wow.
at Cretin. And he was in a box score for the basketball team.
Is that a search? Like, can you search that?
There is a fantastic website out there.
Jeez.
There's a fantastic website called newspapers.com.
Okay.
All right. You got to pay $12 a month, I believe, for it. But you can do a search.
I already
and
got Stat Head, so
you can look up newspapers from across the country.
Wow.
So I just
I can find the first story that I wrote for the Pasadena Star News.
Yes, you could.
In 1989.
Absolutely. I can go look it up today when I leave here.
Damn, I don't know, black hair, one chin, two eyebrows. I might want to hearken.
So I did a lot of my research that way.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Read a lot of books. And I'm a lot of people to thank who helped me out during this process. The Webb family loaned me their cabin for a week. The Skane family loaned me their cabin for a week. All the people I interviewed, Michael Goddard, Torrey Hunter, Gardy, Morneau, Mauer, I'd say Goddard, I think, Jim Cott, Tony Oliva, Ken Herbeck, Tim Laudner, just a bunch of people who contributed to the book, and I really appreciate it. I think it's a good read. I know people who are halfway through the book because it dropped on June 11th, and there's been no complaints. So
you mentioned that publisher reached out to you, and
Yes.
I'm curious. Is it a natural progression? Maybe it's not natural at all. Like writer, journalist, guy that writes pieces all the time, from gamers to op-eds, etc. Is it always a natural progression that I want to write a book someday? Or is it opportunity based? Because sometimes it takes capital. You gotta, I bet there are millions of books that have never been published that are sitting in some publisher's desk or a back room somewhere. Is it always a natural progression to that, or combination of knowing people, or an idea pops in your head one night or you're approached like you were by this publisher?
I can only speak from my experience, but I do know some other people who get into journalism and get into writing with the goal of one day writing books. That was not a goal of mine. So sometimes people plot their course of life and for the career, and sometimes you just take the journey and see where it goes.
Amen.
I didn't know I was going to be a columnist in 2019, and then 2020 happened, and in 2021 I'm a columnist. I didn't know that was going to happen. I never had an inkling about writing a book until Triumph Books reached out to me. So sometimes you know the path you want to take, and sometimes you just enjoy the path you're on.
Do you think you could write fiction? Like, could you write like really good romance novels, Lavelle?
People think I write fiction now for the newspaper.
The book is called Franchise, and you're part of the 9 to Noon franchise and have been for quite some time. For that, we thank you. Congratulations on the book, and maybe we'll see you Saturday, 1:00, Barnes & Noble, Lake Street, for a book signing at Lavelle Neal to learn more. Seriously speaking, though, congratulations.
Absolutely.
I know it was an arduous endeavor for you, and I say that seriously. But you got there. You got to the finish line. The book's out. Now let's have some fun, okay?
Exactly. Thank you very much for allowing me to talk about the book today.
I appreciate you. 9 to Noon continues tomorrow when we rise and shine at 9. We'll be at full strength. That's debatable, always were. And I'm Paul Allen. Here's Nordo with the wrap on the show.
And thanks to Casey's for bringing you the 9 to noon show wraps. Casey's Food and Fuel Rewards, Elite Pizza. It's always good all summer long at Casey's. 9 to noon, no chips on our shoulders. Take so hot, the next day they still smolder. Summertime sometimes feels like dragging a boulder. Our beauty always up to the ear of the beholder. Is it colder? Because the host turkeys are done. Trying not to look at them since the show had begun. It's like an in-house version of the distraction factor. I can't judge. I look like I should be towing a small tractor. You got the Wolves at 27 in the draft. I'm excited for Tim Connolly to work his craft. Will we draft the next Tony Parker or Joker? Or can the Howell become an association power broker? And on Friday, well, you got the Wild. Who will they add to the team that Billy G has compiled? I just know that whoever it is they announce will be some Finnish dude whose name I cannot pronounce.
Today, EB.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.